In 1974, two Minnesota teens saw MGM's That's Entertainment and fell in love with the classic films of Hollywood.
When we saw That's Entertainment, the compilation of all the great MGM musicals 30 years ago as teenagers, Tom and I, like you said, pals from school growing up in St. Paul, said, we got to meet these stars, we got to become film buffs.
They soon found that watching the films wasn't enough. They wanted to meet the stars in person.
In '78, through some writing and some persistence, we had green-lighted interviews with Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly.
We started to correspond with Mr. Astaire and Mr. Kelly, and it took us about 2 years of just constant correspondence, and both Gene and Fred saying, well, we can't meet you, or our schedules aren't really good, or we're in and out of town.
Yes, you mentioned the Minnesota Daily, that's the college paper we wrote for. It was one of the largest college papers in the country, and so it was exposing these people to a whole new generation of fans.
And finally, in 1978, they both said yes.
Dave and Tom didn't just meet the stars, they got their interviews published. The following summer, they returned to LA and interviewed the film legend James Cagney.
We sort of hit it off more with Cagney. We walked in, and he was just sitting there in this terry cloth bathrobe with total bed hair. You know, he had this sort of bouffant, his white hair just sticking up on end like he had stuck his finger in a light socket or something, and he had a little cane. And she said, well, how are you boys getting home? And we said, well, we'll probably walk. She said, no, I'll drive you back in Jimmy's car. So we said, oh, great. Picks us up in this Bentley, this like 1961 Bentley. It was just a classic. We had never been in a car like that in our lives, and so we hopped in, and we kind of purposely gave her a few wrong turns, so that we could kind of prolong the drive, which we loved. We were just kind of driving around Beverly Hills pretending we actually, had license to the Bentley.
Over the next 30 years, Dave and Tom interviewed several generations of stars.
Interviewed just tons and tons of celebrities. A lot of the old guard of Hollywood from the 30s and 40s and 50s. People like Lucille Ball, Gregory Peck, Charlton Heston, Frank Capra, a bunch of directors, songwriters like Harry Warren, who wrote 42nd Street and Lullaby of Broadway, comedians like Bob Newhart and Ted Knight, all kinds of people.
And now, they've published Reel to Reel, a compilation of their interviews and the stories behind them. Former interview subjects Sid Charisse and Shirley Jones have written forewords, and Ed Asner praised the book.
But this is a treasure trove, not only for the people discovered in the past, but for the present people too. But the spontaneity of the interviews is what excited me. Picked up many individual incidents that I would never have heard of coming out of their mouths. So I found it a wonderful delight.
Today, Dave and Tom continue to interview stars. From starstruck young fans to experienced journalists, Reel to Reel chronicles an incredible story.
But my email, if you go to this website, our email's on there.
Okay, yeah, give us a shout out.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And dancing in